Focus shapes reality. Did you know that the most powerful force shaping your life is not meditation, journaling, or visualizing success on social media? It is focus. This simple but profound truth is often overlooked. Focus is the architect of your reality. Where your mind goes, energy flows, and your entire perception of the world begins to shift. When you place your attention on something, anything, it begins to expand in significance. Your emotions are molded by this process. If you constantly dwell on worry, your anxiety multiplies. But if you direct your focus toward purpose, clarity, or a goal, you create a mental spotlight that starts to build momentum. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're shaping it. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That insight goes hand in hand with the concept of focus. It is not the external world that determines your success or peace, but rather your inner ability to choose what deserves your attention. In other words, your life is not defined by events. It is defined by your awareness of them and your response to them. Focus is more than silence. It is more than journaling. It is the deliberate act of aiming your mental energy at one meaningful point. When you eliminate distractions and zoom in with full presence, your brain responds with incredible precision. Like a rocket with limited fuel, it locks onto the target and begins to move toward it with full force. Imagine this 2 minutes of complete focus can outperform 2 hours of scattered thinking. Why? Because those 2 minutes are pure. There is no noise, no internal chatter, no wandering, just clarity. That is the power of intentional attention. You do not need hours of effort to transform your life. You only need a few moments of genuine presence. Those tiny windows of complete focus can redirect your path entirely. Every thought becomes a thread connecting your present reality to your future possibility. Focus is not something you find. It is something you create. And once you do, everything begins to change. Your inner world aligns, your decisions sharpen. Your reality takes form one focused moment at a time, the power of deep focus. Meditation and journaling can bring moments of calm, but deep focus is different. It is not about reflection. It is about direction. When you truly focus, it is like shining a powerful spotlight on your goal. Everything else fades into the background. Your mind stops wandering and your energy begins to concentrate on a single meaningful point. Have you ever wondered why 2 minutes of absolute focus can outperform 2 hours of half-hearted effort? The answer lies in clarity. When your brain is not scattered, when it is not juggling thoughts or checking notifications, it becomes laser sharp. In that brief window of total concentration, your mind operates at full power. You feel connected, alive, and deeply present. Imagine closing every mental tab. No distractions, no multitasking, just one sentence, one task, one breath. In that moment, you reclaim control over your mind. Your thoughts stop racing, your heart rate slows. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are directing your own energy. That is the real power of deep focus. It does not require a superhuman amount of time. You do not need to block out your entire day. You only need small intentional pockets of attention. A few minutes of focused effort can carry more weight than an entire morning of scattered thinking. Try it for yourself. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Read a paragraph slowly. Let each word guide your breath. Inhale at each comma. Exhale at each period. Feel your body settle as your mind begins to quiet. That is not just reading. That is engagement. That is presence. Now compare that to a distracted state. You are constantly glancing at the clock, switching between tasks and chasing thoughts. It is like a ship in a storm with no anchor. You may spend hours like this and accomplish nothing of real value. Deep focus changes that. It is not about forcing yourself to think harder. It is about aligning your attention with intention. When you do, every action becomes more meaningful, more effective, and more rewarding. You do not need more time. You need more presence. One moment of deep focus can open the door to lasting transformation. What you focus on expands. Have you ever decided to buy a specific car and suddenly you start seeing it everywhere, on the road, in parking lots, even in commercials? It is not a coincidence. It is your brain's reticular activating system at work, a filter that tunes your awareness to match your focus. Once you choose to notice something, your brain begins to highlight it everywhere. This principle does not just apply to cars. It applies to your entire life. What you focus on expands, what you ignore fades. If you constantly dwell on your fears and doubts, they grow larger. They begin to take over your thoughts, drain your energy, and cloud your judgment. But if you redirect your focus towards solutions, progress, or growth, those areas begin to bloom. Even the smallest steps forward will feel meaningful because your brain amplifies what aligns with your attention. This is why successful people that seem so composed under pressure. It is not that they are fearless, it is that they know what to pay attention to. They choose clarity over chaos, action over complaint, and purpose over distraction. They understand that their power lies not in changing the world around them, but in managing their response to it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That quote holds a profound truth. When you realize that your focus is under your control, you gain a freedom that no circumstance can take away. You do not have to solve every problem at once. You only need to focus on what matters most. Instead of scattering your energy across a dozen worries, choose one goal that excites and challenges you. Let that be the target for your mental spotlight. Eliminate distractions and allow your focus to shine like a beam of light, sharp, intense, and effective. The more consistently you focus on something, the more your brain begins to prioritize it. Opportunities, ideas, and insights will seem to appear out of nowhere, but they were always there. You simply had not tuned in yet. Focus determines what grows in your life. Choose wisely. Rewire your RAS. Your brain is not an all-seeing machine. It is a selective filter. At the heart of this filter is a powerful network called the reticular activating system, or RAS. This system decides what information gets your attention and what gets ignored. The RAS is shaped by your beliefs, experiences, and where you consistently direct your focus. If you believe the world is unfair, your RAS will find examples to support that view. It will highlight every slight, every disappointment, and every setback, reinforcing a negative loop. It is like having a projector that only shows you the darkest scenes. But if you start shifting your beliefs and thoughts toward growth and opportunity, your RAS will adjust its filter accordingly. It will begin to show you chances to improve new pathways and small wins you previously overlooked. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to us that matters, but how we respond. That wisdom mirrors the function of your RAS. You are exposed to countless pieces of information each day. The difference is not what is out there, it is what your brain allows in. Your focus determines your reality, and your RAS acts like the gatekeeper. So how do you rewire it? Start small. Begin your day with a simple affirmation. Say to yourself, "I find solutions in every challenge." Speak it aloud, write it down, repeat it regularly. These small actions begin to program your filter. They train your mind to recognize positivity, progress, and potential even in difficult situations. In moments of stress, pause. Take a few breaths. Ask yourself, what am I choosing to focus on right now? This practice brings awareness to the automatic filters that may be limiting your potential. The RAS is not fixed, it is flexible. The more intentionally you direct it, the more helpful it becomes. You do not need hours of deep reflection to rewire your mind. Just a few mindful moments each day will begin to reshape your awareness. Over time, your mental spotlight will automatically shift toward what lifts you up instead of what drags you down. Rewiring your RAS is not about ignoring reality. It is about training your mind to work for you, not against you. That shift can change everything. Hacking the system. Redirect the spotlight. You are the director of your mind, and the mental spotlight shines wherever you allow it to. If you keep that spotlight trapped in a tight corner, it casts shadow of fear, doubt, and failure. But if you consciously widen its beam and aim it at solutions, progress, and opportunity, your entire experience begins to change. This is what it means to hack the system by deliberately redirecting your mental spotlight. Do not waste energy fighting the darkness. You do not need to argue with negative thoughts or force them to disappear. Instead, simply choose to focus on what moves you forward. Tell your mind, "I care more about progress than problems. I value becoming more than blaming." That internal message activates your brain's salience network, which begins filtering in useful information and tuning out emotional noise. You will start noticing solutions you overlooked before. Small steps that once felt invisible become clear. Confidence grows as your spotlight aligns with your goals. You do not need a flawless plan. You only need a clear direction and the willingness to take one step at a time. When you shift your focus, your brain follows. Instead of wasting 30 minutes worrying about unanswered emails, spend 5 minutes outlining your next 3 steps. Call a colleague, draft a response, set a timer, and get moving. That shift from problem-focused to solution-oriented rewires your mind for progress. Your mental playlist works the same way. If you keep choosing sad or anxious thoughts, your mood will sink. But if you select even a small burst of positivity, your mind gains momentum. You do not need perfection. You need forward action. One step, one decision, one redirect. Directing your spotlight is not a one-time fix. It is a practice. Each day, remind yourself to focus on what matters. When you master your spotlight, you begin to master your life. Addiction to negative thinking and the illusion of control. 2 years ago, late at night, I found myself replaying an old audio recording of a heated argument with a close friend. In every angry word and broken silence, I felt a strange sense of control. It was as if by revisiting the pain, I was proving to myself that I was right. Each replay seemed to recharge a twisted sense of power. But in reality, I was fueling a habit that drained my inner strength minute by minute. Why do we get stuck in these loops? Because they give us the illusion of control. We believe that by holding on to pain, we remain in charge of the story. But the truth is we are letting the past hijack our present. When you cling to negative memories, it does not make you stronger. It makes you more tired, more closed, more disconnected from growth. Negative thinking is like a toxic substance. It tricks you into believing that suffering gives you clarity, but it actually keeps you frozen. You do not need to relive every painful moment to find peace. You only need to make one powerful choice to stop feeding it, instead of rehashing the same arguments or regrets. Try to spend 5 minutes writing down 3 things you are grateful for. These small acts retrain your reticular activating system to look for positivity. When you do this regularly, your mind will begin to highlight solutions, joy, and purpose instead of looping through pain. You do not need to forget the past completely. You just need to stop letting it control you. You do not have to fix everything overnight. You only need to take a small step forward again and again. The next time those negative thoughts begin to resurface, pause and ask yourself, what am I really trying to hold on to? Then choose differently. Let go of the illusion of control. Claim your present. Focus on what you want to grow, not what already hurt you. That is how real strength begins, connecting with your identity and self-awareness. You become what you focus on. If you constantly replay your mistakes, you begin to believe that you are defined by them. Have you noticed that when you reflect on yourself, the first thing that comes to mind is often a past failure? That pattern shapes how you see yourself today. Your mind operates like a rocket searching for familiar targets. If your thoughts are always orbiting around fear, regret, or insecurity, your reticular activating system will keep finding more of the same. It is not because you are broken, it is because your attention has been trained to seek what is familiar, even if that familiarity brings pain. But you have the power to shift that pattern. Stoic philosophy teaches that mastering your thoughts is the first step toward mastering your life. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is more than a quote. It is a roadmap for reclaiming your focus and reshaping your identity. Start by observing your thoughts. Ask yourself, what kind of world am I creating in my mind right now? Pay attention to where your energy is going. If you notice your spotlight drifting into fear or judgment, gently redirect it. For example, if you are feeling overwhelmed by a looming deadline, do not focus on the pressure. Focus on the next action. Write one paragraph. Send one email. Take one deep breath. Each small act is a stepping stone toward confidence and momentum. You do not need to solve everything at once. You only need to take the next step with clarity. Over time, these small decisions rewire your mental filter. Your spotlight begins to focus on progress, not panic. To truly connect with your identity, you must remember who you are becoming, not just who you were. You are not your mistakes. You are your ability to choose to grow and to rise. Focus is not just about productivity. It is about reclaiming your power to define yourself with intention. Reducing noise increases visibility. In a world filled with endless distractions, it is easy to forget that clarity requires silence. Notifications constantly buzz. Social media pulls your attention in 100 directions. The noise is not just external, it clutters your mind, scatters your thoughts, and blurs your priorities. Reducing this noise is not only about cutting out distractions, it is about creating space to see your path clearly. Every day your brain filters thousands of inputs. The reticular activating system works like a gatekeeper, letting in only what it believes is relevant. But when your environment is overloaded with meaningless content, even this system can become overwhelmed. It is like trying to hear a single voice in a room full of shouting. The message gets lost. Reducing the noise means giving your mind room to breathe. You do not need to eliminate technology or go off the grid. Start small. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Limit how often you check emails or scroll through social media. Choose high-quality content and remove anything that adds no value. Try this experiment. Spend the first 30 minutes of your morning without your phone. No emails, no news, no social feeds. Instead, breathe deeply. Journal your intentions. Read something uplifting. You will be amazed at how much more grounded and productive you feel. Ideas begin to flow. Energy builds. Focus sharpens. When you reduce mental clutter, your spotlight becomes more precise. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You recognize what matters and what is just background noise. You shift from being reactive to being intentional. This daily habit also improves emotional clarity. You become more aware of your thoughts, your reactions, and your deeper desires. By turning down the external volume, your internal voice becomes louder, more confident, and more aligned with your values. You do not need dramatic changes to see results, just consistent effort to protect your attention. By dedicating 30 minutes a day to silence and focus, you give yourself the greatest gift: space. To think, space to grow, and space to see who you really are. In the end, reducing noise is not about doing less. It is about making room for what truly matters. You only need 1% shifts to transform your life. We often believe that changing our lives requires massive action or a complete overhaul, but the truth is far simpler. It only takes a 1% shift in your focus each day to redirect the course of your life. Your mind is constantly scanning the world through the filter of the reticular activating system. What you choose to highlight shapes your thoughts, emotions, and actions. If you focus on what is broken, your brain will find cracks everywhere. But if you choose to concentrate on what is possible, you begin to notice opportunities that were always there, hidden in plain sight. You do not need more information. You do not need perfection. You just need consistency in redirecting your spotlight. Small, intentional moments can change everything. One breath, one decision, one thought that chooses clarity over chaos. Over time, these moments build on each other, forming a new pattern of thinking and living. The mind adapts, the brain rewires, the path becomes clearer. For example, instead of reacting with frustration when a problem arises, pause and ask yourself, where can I take responsibility right now? This simple question can shift your energy from victimhood to power. You are no longer trapped in the problem. You are focused on the next step. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, focus on listening instead of winning. In your work, focus on progress instead of perfection. In your personal growth, focus on one new habit instead of trying to fix everything at once. These small shifts may daily create deep and lasting change. The spotlight is yours to control. When you choose what to focus on, you shape your experience of the world. You are not powerless. You are the architect of your perspective. And by consistently directing your attention toward purpose, peace, and progress, you begin to build a life that reflects your highest values. So start today. Pick one thought, one action, one area of growth. Redirect your focus even just 1%, and watch how that small change begins to create extraordinary results. Your transformation starts not with force, but with focus. Focus creates your life. Your focus is not just a tool, it is the foundation of everything you build in your life. The thoughts you choose, the emotions you entertain, and the actions you take all stem from where you place your attention. When your focus is clear, your path becomes clear. When it is scattered, so is your life. You do not need to change the entire world to feel progress. You only need to redirect your focus toward what truly matters. Even small adjustments in attention, just one breath, one word, one moment, can make a lasting difference. These tiny shifts shape the way your brain filters reality, opening the door to clarity, confidence, and purpose. The reticular activating system is constantly listening, constantly filtering. If you feed it drama, it will tune into chaos. But if you feed it purpose, it will guide you toward direction and meaning. You become what you consistently focus on. That is not just theory, it is how your brain works. Ask yourself right now, what am I spotlighting today? Are you amplifying worry or are you nurturing growth? Are you dwelling on the past or are you planting seeds for your future? The solution does not lie in grand gestures or perfect strategies. It lies in the discipline to focus on what truly matters again and again. When you remove distractions, silence the noise, and direct your spotlight toward action, you begin to shape your reality deliberately and powerfully. Each day, make one small commitment. Focus on what builds you. Focus on what brings peace. Focus on what helps you grow. In time, your entire life will reflect that intention. The power is already within you. You only have to choose where to aim the light. In a world overflowing with noise distractions and constant pressure to do more, the most powerful thing you can do is reclaim your focus. Not through massive change or dramatic routines, but through small, intentional shifts. Begin by choosing what deserves your attention. If you constantly focus on stress, failure, or what is lacking, your brain will highlight those things repeatedly. But when you direct your mind towards solutions, growth, and gratitude, your perception of life begins to shift. Start each day with one clear intention. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? In your work relationships and thoughts, focus less on perfection and more on progress. A single breath of clarity, a few minutes of undivided attention, or writing down 3 things you are grateful for can do more than hours of multitasking. Your brain's filtering system is always listening. What you focus on, it magnifies. So choose wisely. When frustration rises, step back and ask, what can I do next? Then do just that one small action. It is not about being in control of everything. It is about being in command of your response. This is how you transform your mindset, your habits, and ultimately your life. Be patient. Be consistent. The spotlight is in your hands. Aim it with purpose.